If you have a dog or dogs, then this video is for you. I am tired of crunching over a tub, so I built an outdoor dog washing station that will let me stand with ease while scrubbing my pups, which my two are drastically different heights, but the station works for both. My little one can easily be lifted up, but my 76-pound one goes up a ramp. I do have plans with a complete shopping list and material cut list if you're interested in building your own. Let's get into how I built it. Like every project, I start by cutting my material at the miter saw. Since this is going to be around moisture, I'm going with treated lumber for everything. And this part goes really quick, working off the cut list in my plans. Sawyer is new to me, and this was actually his first day in the shop. But he is picking up that supervisor role spectacularly well. After cutting the parts, I used a circular saw to cut a notch into the post, or what will be the legs. To do this, I first measure off where my notch needs to be, then mark it in pencil. I then set the depth of my circular saw to cut the outside two lines. Once the boundary is established, I can make quick passes in the center of the two to carve it up. Now I can just take a chisel and a mallet to break it up and clear it out. Now let's start putting things together. I start with the body. And this build is designed to be tackled by a DIYer, so everything is pretty simple. Butt joints here and running screws into the back. Make sure they're exterior rated. Not only is it outside, but it's also going to be around a ton of moisture. Then I attach the front two parts that the wash tub will later rest on. I do recommend pre-drilling these to prevent splitting. Also, to prevent the drill body from interfering from going in straight, move the unit around so that it overhangs your workbench slightly. Next, I fill in the center. And I love projects like this because it doesn't have to be exact. I did make pencil marks for where the center of these boards need to go, but then I attached them by eye. Well, the fronts are attached by pocket holes, and these are placed on the bottom side of the board, so I flipped the entire unit up on end to make attaching these easier. Also, using a clamp to hold it flush will make it easier. I set that aside and started building the base to hold up the body. This is a pretty horrible camera angle to see the detail on what I'm doing, but I'm attaching a 2x4 into the notch of the 4x4 I cut in earlier. I used a pre-drill to drill out a hole at an angle on the bottom side of the 2x4, then I ran in long screws. And I'm drilling these in from the bottom so that water can't get in from the top and sit and rot it out. After building a second the same exact way, I set them up on the floor, then built a platform to create a shelf. I personally love doing things by eye when I'm able to, so I just space these out by eye. Once it looked good, I used a square to make sure the first board was square, then attached it. If you make sure the two outside ones are square, the first and the last, then you don't have to keep checking the center ones. Let's do a quick stand on it test. And that's a pass, so let's move on. Okay, so now I can move the body to the base like so. Line things up and start connecting it. Now let's throw on what will be a shelf for shampoo or brushes. Nice and simple. Then I can add on the tub. Now I went with a large drain pan to accommodate big or small pups. But if you only have small ones, then you could reduce the size of this build very easily. It is fiberglass though, so I recommend gloves when moving it. Look how cute he is. The pan sits right in place and is surprisingly heavy. I made sure to butt it up flush to the corner and then I simply caulked it in. I will say though that if you aren't building it on site where it will permanently live, I would either wait to caulk it in or make sure to let it set up completely before moving it. I moved the unit before I let it dry and ended up popping the seam and having to redo it. Not a big deal, but annoying. Okay, and that is the body done. Now, if you only have small dogs, then you could actually just leave it there. My 17-pound dog, not a problem to lift right up into the pan. 76-pound dog, no man. So let's go ahead and add on a ramp. Now, the ground won't be level, so to get out of having to be exact, this ramp is attached to hinges. I started by screwing the hinges onto the body, then screwing the 2x4s to the other side. Nice and easy. Next, I could just fill it in. I set the first board. It's important to make sure this is square. Then I jumped down to the end and first made sure the spacing of the 2x4s were correct. Then attached a temporary board to lock that spacing in. This way I could fly through attaching all the ones in between without having to worry about squareness getting off. Personally, I decided to butt my boards right up to one another. They will shrink over time and create a gap. I left my temporary last board in place until I got to the very end, and then I simply replaced it with my final board to complete the ramp. Let's go ahead and test it out and make sure I'm on the right track here. Mom can help you. Okay, come on, we're gonna go up here. Hey, yeah, good boy. Come on, up, good boy. Good boy, come here. You're such a good boy. Oh my goodness, scrub. Oh, I love you so much. Look how cute you are. You're so handsome. You're so handsome. Let's go down. You wanna go down with me? Good. Good boy. Here, come on up. Excellent. Outstanding job, bud. That is the woodworking portion of this build done. Now we have the plumbing and accessories to really make this functional. Now let's cover the plumbing. I do have all the individual parts that make up the plumbing linked in the plans if you're interested in a complete shopping list. At this point, I left the joint long so that I could hold up this assembly in place and then cut it exactly. I attached the front with a few clamps to the body. Then moved to the back and cut the pipe to length. Those are so cool. To go up with the line, I glued on a 90. It's at this point I'm being careful. I need the front, which has a water spigot on it, to be straight down, while this 90 is straight up. Once it was locked though, I could build up a straight length of PVC. And again, I left it a little long, but then I cut it in place. Then I could glue on the final 90, then hold everything in place with some screw-on clamps. Nice. Next, I went up to the top side and attached my shower wand. This is gonna be great for getting my entire dog from top to under. Ooh. Next, I worked on the drain. The pan does come with the drain assembly, so I just had to apply some caulk to the underside, then stick it in place while applying the nut to the bottom side to hold it. Typically you use silicone here, but I already have the tube of caulking on hand and open from the seams earlier. But I will come back later to show you the drain and how I divert the water. For now, let's move on to how to attach the pups so that they can't run away while you're giving them a bath. I built a cage sort of thing with galvanized pipe. I have no idea why, but I have a bender in my shop. So I put in two 90-degree bends spaced apart equally on this joint of pipe. And it's kind of tricky to put in the second because you have to keep the first angle upright so that it's on the same plane. The idea is that this will go here. It looks pretty good. I attached it with a few more screw-on clamps and was really happy with how sturdy it felt. So I made another and then cut it in half and attached it the same way. Now, if you don't have a bender, you can absolutely make something like this, but out of wood. On mine, I left a small gap in between the two bending components in order to give myself a space for this leash attachment to go. Then I attached everything with two T-brackets, one from the top and one from the bottom to reinforce this connection. Okay, now let's try it out. I actually built this to be an amenity at my new RV park called Pierced Oak. So I moved the station to a spot that's close to a spigot and has some shade. Back to the drain. I'm using bigger PVC pipe to 90 off the bottom and then a straight section to drain the water away. Now I'm going to an area where there isn't a walking path or trees. However, it is worth noting that I'm using eco-friendly soap. So if you're washing your dog outside but don't want to harm your trees, grass, or plants, then know there are plenty of options online. When somebody wants to use the station, they can either lift or walk their pup up to the pan. Use the adjustable leash hookup to clip onto them, turn the water on at the valve here, and then start washing. Hooks are over here for towels or harnesses. And then of course the shelf for shampoo. On mine, I didn't include hot water as an option, but I'm in Texas, so there are many months where it can be used. However, it would be very simple to add in hot water option if you wanted to tie into a water line that has both. I've actually shown you how to do this in an outdoor shower video I did a while back. And I'll link to it down below if you'd like to incorporate hot water and be able to use the station year round. What do you guys think? I personally love it, and my pups seem to love it. If you want to build your own, then check out my plans where you have dimensions, a cut list, and a complete shopping list to make the build go so much smoother. I hope that you love it. I hope your doggos love it. And I'll see you on whatever I'm building next. Bubby, come here. How tall are you? I don't even know. You're a good boy. You don't even know what this is, do you? Oh, it's okay. You're roughly 23 inches, dude. So what's that plus 26? 26, 23, that's 4 and 9, 49. That would put you at this height. Wash, 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 wash at the top. Belly, belly, belly. That works. That's my measuring method.